Sunday. Maps Fitness Muscle Mashup Throwdown kicks off the summer with death-defying results from America's top-ranked health and fitness trainers: Bigfoot Stallion, Sal Stefano, Cradle Robin Gravedigger, Adam Schaefer, and Megasaurus Rex, Justin Andrews. Go on over to mypumpmedia.com and reserve your Map Fitness program today.
If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal Stefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this super strong episode of Mind Pump, for the first 40 minutes, we have our introductory conversation. Adam talks about his spiffy new Viore clothes.
Oh, yeah.
So sharp.
Dressing up for Taylor.
Handsome as fuck.
Weird. If you go to Viore Clothing, that's VUORI clothing.com/Mind Pump, you'll get 25% off. Then I talk about the studies on lion's mane and how it improves or accelerates nervous system recovery. They did some studies on some rats and actually showed some pretty remarkable results. And for humans, that could potentially mean recover faster from your intense workouts. Now, the lion's mane of choice for us is from Four Sigmatic. If you go to Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/Mind Pump and use the code Mind Pump, you will get a discount.
That's right, man.
Then we talk about the weird, messed up school shooting statistics. I don't think we know what's going on there. We talked about Cannabis Beer in Canada. They're actually making beer with cannabis in it.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Sounds relaxing.
Justin talks about the time he overdosed on cannabis while watching
that did happen.
The Incredibles.
Oh, what a horrible experience.
We talk about sleep eating and sleep sex and sleep paralysis.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's the best time you'll never remember.
You didn't tell me the name of that drug. I want to get some of that.
Then we get into the questions. The first question was, how important is it to schedule rest days? And what do we mean when we talk about a rest day? How important are they for your progress? And what should you do on the days
you'll sleep when you're dead, bro,
that you don't work out? Next question was, what are our thoughts on kids and weight training? When should they start? And what qualities should you look for in a personal trainer if you're trying to hire a trainer to train your kids with weights? The next question was, how do you know when it's time to leave your personal trainer? And how do you break the news to them?
Oh, wow.
We give some breakup advice.
Buy them dinner first, at least.
Of this episode. And finally, the last question, what are our thoughts in regards to therapy with a professional? Do we think counseling and therapy is worth it? And do we have any experience with it? The answer is yes, and yes, it's worth it. And we have some experience. Listen to that part of this episode to hear what our experience was like. And again, I'd like to mention 3 days left for the Maps Strong $30 off launch promo. You got to go to mapsstrong.com, SS, so MAPSSTRONG.com. Use the code STRONG30, that's strong with the number 30, no space. Get $30 off. After 3 days, that rate goes up and won't come back down. Go check it out.
Act now, supplies won't last.
So how come you dress up for Taylor, but you don't dress up for me,
for you guys,
or for Justin, or for Doug?
Because Taylor has an eye for that stuff. So, and plus it makes him happy. Like he.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you do for? What did you do? First of all, what did you do for Taylor?
First of all, and here's the thing. And I actually was complimenting him yesterday. Actually, he complimented himself first yesterday. Then I said, yes, you are. But I've been going through and I'm trying my best to stay on top of all the YouTube questions. Every once in a while, a new person who drops in on the channel finds like a really old video. In fact, it was one of the first times we ever shot anything in here. There's not even any equipment in here. And they made a comment like, "Oh, this is, great channel, amazing," right? Real positive comment. So I watched the video. I haven't watched an old video YouTube of us already, or in a long time. And it made me cringe the same way I do when I listen to an old podcast episode.
Were we bad?
It makes me cringe, but then also it makes me happy because, it's just kudos to all of us and how we continue to evolve and we're growth-minded is that I didn't realize we were that bad until now, and then I didn't realize that we've evolved that much until I had seen something that far back, and it's really bad. But it was good enough content that people were subscribing and
We're good when we suck, even.
But even to the point of like just the uniformity of it, right? So I mean, I've tried to get better for Taylor on that. Like, you know, he constantly gives me a hard time that, you know, this is a visual platform, and whether you like it or not, there's these people are dropping in the first time. They don't know who the fuck Mind Pump Adam is. They don't know you're
so judgmental,
a great guy or this or that. So, you know, putting the outfit together, and so
were you wearing all your Viore?
Yeah,
out?
Well, because he loves Viore. I mean, Viore was one of the companies that he first found, and of course the company's blowing up, and so I know he's super proud.
I gotta agree with him on that brand, though.
It does.
I wear it like every day. Dude.
No, it's. I mean, they're solid stuff, dude. And I'm jealous. You and him have all the T-shirts. I made the mistake of getting like all the shorts, all the pants. I have some.
Yeah, you only like 2, or so shorts or pants to like switch out,
right?
And then you just.
But I didn't get a lot of T-shirts.
That's the move.
You did do the right move.
I did a couple shirts. I like the T-shirts. The material is really.
Oh, this is so comfy, dude.
Yeah, it's like
it's hugging me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're wearing a baby's kiss.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a sweet on your body.
Like lightly dusting my nipples.
So now I roll into the YouTube shoots.
Oh yeah.
You know, my Viore'd out and put together, so he gets excited. I know he gets all happy when I.
That's
no, you look sharp,
exciting.
man. I'll be honest. I'll give you a little props on that.
You look sharp.
Yeah.
You look very sharp. Dude, so I found a new benefit of lion's mane, the mushroom. It speeds up nervous system healing. So they did studies in rats, and they find that it accelerates the repair of the nervous system.
How the fuck do they measure that?
How do they measure it?
Yes.
I don't know. That's a good question, Adam. Let me look it up here for a second.
That's weird.
Speed recovery from injuries by stimulating the growth and repair of nerve cells. So what they do is they damage the mice so that they maybe lose some function in one of their legs.
Oh, so
By the way,
they damage them.
Kind of fucked up.
Hit him with a hammer.
Fucked up.
Hit him with a hammer.
Yeah. Quote air quotes. Damage them.
But anyway, and they'll test different subjects to see if
It's fucking.
It is.
Let's
like
give him some.
hammer.
Let's give him some mushrooms and see if he feels better. Oh,
They're just
that
limping.
didn't work.
They're just limping
So-
over to get some food.
well, dude, listen to this, right?
Let's help them out.
23 to 41%.
He's just high as fuck, dude. It's not really helping him.
God, we're so fucked up as humans, aren't we? I'm sorry, Sal.
Sorry, finish your commercial.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You guys need some Ritalin.
No. Finish your commercial. Keep going.
23, this is a real study, 23 to 41% reduction in recovery time for the nervous system, okay? Now that sounds amazing and incredible, and I can see lots of applications for people, but let's think about athletes for a second. When you hammer yourself in the gym, and I've been noticing this because I take the Four Sigmatic has the green matcha tea lion's mane mix. They also
Would you say that's your favorite? I see you using that one a lot here.
That one's my favorite because the green tea's got a little bit of caffeine with the lion's mane. It's a great combination. But I've been taking that pre-workout, and I've noticed when I work out really hard, I seem to recover a little better, a little faster. Maybe that's what's going on.
So this is a dumb question, but does the lion's mane mushroom actually look like a lion's mane?
It looks like it's kind of, maybe it does. I think it does. Kind of. I'm trying to remember what it looks like. I think it's kind of small, bunch of small mushrooms. So it kind of looks like a mane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Simba.
Yeah. That's back in the day when they would name things after what they look like.
I know, right?
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does look like a lion's mane.
Sweet. That was right.
There it is. So on that note, you know why they call horny goat weed?
There was a noticed effect after goats were eating this thing?
Or what?
Bro, the story goes that goat herders, noticed that when the goats would eat this particular herb, they would start having sex with each other and getting all crazy.
Yeah.
And so they named it horny goat weed. Yeah, there's a compound in horny goat weed. I think it's pronounced epidemium. I'm not sure. Look up the main ingredient in horny goat weed, Doug. But it's actually a potent vasodilator, and it works in a similar way to Viagra.
I see, and it's all natural and herb.
Yeah, it's got like 1/4 of the effectiveness of Viagra's from what I've read.
So if you concentrate the shit out of it, you'll get close.
Yeah, maybe.
He's just drink hell.
I don't know, man. That shit works. You ever
Bathe in it.
Didn't I give it to you?
Yeah, no,
it works, right?
Yeah, no, I can attest to it for sure.
Yeah, it gives you the boner power.
Yeah, the boner power,
long and strong.
Boner power.
I mean, there was a while there when my libido was in the basement, so we were trying anything and everything. So I was doing all his fucking smoke and herbal shit, everything. It's just whatever you want, dude. Tell me what to do, dude.
Getting a shaman to resurrect it.
Yeah, whatever.
It was the pictures of Justin.
I think that was
me playing the flute.
I think that was the only time I was consistently using the Force-O-Matic because I was desperate, dude. I was like, tell me, Sal, what I could take. He's like, take this, take that.
So something like that is different. It's not like you want to do it, but you can't, like erectile dysfunction.
It's just picture
you don't want to when your libido's low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't want to.
Yeah, it's shitty. It wouldn't be a big deal if I was a single guy, but I got a partner at home, and man, I tell you what, my girl is night and day difference when she's getting some. She's getting some. She's happier. She's a happy camper, dude. House is clean. Meals are always cooked. Skipping around the house. She's happy as shit.
That sounds like a good trait to me.
Do your diligence.
It is.
Because she basically, people don't know, she basically organizes your entire life. All you got to do is have sex with her. Sounds like an even
You guys
trade.
are in like such opposite of like over here. I'm like everything goes so smooth and everything when I'm getting some.
Icarian is the ingredient in there. It's a PDE5 inhibitor, just like Viagra. Helps loosen up the muscles in there, and then or the tissues, and then
very nice.
And then bingo bango.
Yeah, bingo bango. Did you guys hear about the NPR research that they did on school shootings?
Oh no! Didn't something else come out in the news just the other day?
That kid that shot up that fucked up.
What happened?
He lost a video game and went back into the video game tournament and shot kids.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I read literally a paragraph about it, so that's all I know.
Okay.
But it was another kid on psychiatric medications. Damn. He's on all these other.
He was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know any details. That just came up. It surfaced on one of my social media platforms. It popped up, and I didn't have a chance to dive into it. I was hoping one of you guys did.
So check this out. The Department of Education says that there were 235 school shootings in the 2015 to 16 school year. NPR went and double-checked the figure. You ready for this? Yeah. It found 11 can be independently confirmed. Basically 2/3 of the alleged total did not happen at all.
What?
Yeah, and then 4 of them were miscategorized completely. How crazy is that?
Whoa, explain that.
So, that's it.
What do you mean? So people have been rattling off stats that there was X amount of school shootings,
and they're not real. The federal government basically has no idea how many school shootings occur each year.
Because I'm assuming what they do is did some of these get categorized because there was a gunfire and it was at a house that was 1 block from a school or some shit?
One of them was a cap gun was fired on a school bus, and another one was a student posted a picture online of himself holding a gun at home. Those were both categorized as
it's a gun incident,
school shootings. Yeah. So it's kind of that's kind of fucked up,
that's misleading. Yeah,
it's a little bit messed up. I wonder who benefits from putting out shitty information like that. You know who makes a lot of money every time they try to push gun control?
The NRA.
No, yeah. Companies that sell guns.
I was gonna say
your prices go up.
Yeah.
Bro, like
bullet prices go up, gun prices go up.
Oh, anytime
because everybody's like, oh shit, we may not be able to get them.
Yeah. Anytime a politician
scarcity, right?
pushes like gun control, gun sales go through the roof. So I wonder if these
backfiring.
Yeah, I wonder if these companies, these like the NRA and stuff. I wonder if they like kind of work in unison. Like, hey, put out some shit.
I mean,
get people.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Lots of speculation going on right now, but
I mean that's an old marketing advertising ploy, right? I mean, Pepsi and Coke did it back in the late '80s, right?
Companies like the test of time almost. They figured that one out.
God,
right?
I wonder how much we're manipulating.
I know, dude.
So maybe Mind Pump needs a nemesis that we need to work with.
We do.
It's
pumps.
Doritos.
I'm working on it.
you are. Doritos.
That's gonna be our new nemesis.
We'll work with Taco Bell.
Yeah. I don't want to fight with Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Run for the border.
Get people
Fighter and the Kid, right? They got sponsored by Burger King, right?
Did they really?
And Monster, brand shop.
Monster's cool. I mean, whatever.
Monster is cool.
Because you guys see this, right? I mean, you guys know that Monster, Red Bull, they all got their own lines now of the organic, all natural side too. So they're, as bad of a bad rap as they have for all the fucking crazy rocket fueled weird,
Right.
You know, when you look at the back of it,
You got a million versions of like no sugar, no calories.
right? But I mean, every one of these guys are responding to the market, and they are moving and pivoting. You know, they're getting, you know, making sure they're covering all their bases. So you see that.
Yeah.
You see that happening right now.
Interesting. You know, you know, in Canada right now, because they legalized cannabis countrywide in Canada. Do you guys know this?
No.
You guys didn't know this?
I did know
Yeah,
that.
Jesus Christ. What do you guys, I feel like you're
I
hiding
know
a
that.
rock.
Listen, I remember the CEO from Dosis was talking about that, like how excited he was it's going to pass, and then it passed like the next week.
Dude, pay attention to the cannabis market in Canada, because now that it's legalized, you're going to see all kinds of new products and new shit happen. And they brewed the first cannabis beer in Canada. So now you're starting to see the combination of alcohol with marijuana.
And this is different than the other one you brought up.
Yeah, no, this is
a beer.
No, this is actual beer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard of this.
I don't know if that's a good combination.
I don't think it's a good combination at all.
It's like when we got introduced to Red Bull vodkas. Right, that was a terrible.
That's
idea.
a great combination.
It's a terrible.
What the hell
idea.
are you talking about?
Yeah. Listen, keep drunk assholes up like all night long.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I
Like,
mean, it's still probably one of the number one drinks at a nightclub. I mean, that's probably that you could debate. You know, I mean,
here's the
I'm
deal.
just saying, like, if you're like a drunken asshole, we don't want you to
Here's
stay
the
up.
deal.
We want you to go to sleep.
Caffeine and alcohol work great together because when you drink them, they hit you right around the same time. If I drink a beer with weed in it, the alcohol is going to hit me way before the fucking weed.
Yeah.
So I'm going to drink it, and I'm going to keep drinking and be like, oh,
is
I
that
feel
necessarily true?
great. When you eat weed, when you consume it, it gets processed a lot slower.
Aren't they too like considered depressants?
But paired with alcohol in your system, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Because cannabis is it's got to get processed through the liver differently. It hits you slower. Think about it. If I gave you, okay, how about this?
Doesn't alcohol has to be processed through the liver also?
But it's faster. If I give you,
That's
3 shots of vodka,
what I'm saying is that because the cannabis is paired with the alcohol, would it transport it faster?
they're still separate. It's not like it's fused. It's not like they took the alcohol molecule and made a
I
cannabis.
don't know. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, because when you have an edible, whether you drink the alcohol, the cannabis, or you eat the cannabis, it takes on an empty stomach. How long does it take you guys to feel it? If you had an empty stomach, to feel the effects of the cannabis, let's just say.
On an empty stomach?
45
cannabis.
minutes.
About 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Empty stomach, how soon do you feel alcohol? 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah, it happens much, much faster. So I don't think it's a good idea to combine two substances that have such a differing rate of effects.
Yeah, you'll get like you get hit double. Like it'll come a little bit later too. You'll get a second wave.
I'm trying to think how many times too that I've been at a party where I got drunk and then I decided to smoke weed. Like,
Smoking weed and alcohol go together nice.
well,
I don't know about
that's
that.
the same difference there.
No.
You get like really drunk and high together. It's a bad.
Yes, it
That's
is.
true.
That's a bad
No,
experience.
smoking hits you right away.
Yeah, but I know it. Okay, if you know how many milligrams is your dose, right? So if I know that, 15 milligrams of marijuana is just the right amount for me to feel stoned.
It's a big dose.
Feel stoned, but not like, because 5 milligrams I'm chill. Like I barely feel it, but 10, 15 I'm probably really stoned. So if I had beers that were 2.5 milligrams of marijuana in it, then I know I could have 5 or 6 beers. I'd probably get pretty tipsy, and then after my buzz is wearing off, I would be high. So that's what.
Well, that's the problem. The problem is the timing. That's all I'm saying. It's not the combination of the two, because cannabis and alcohol, people have been combining that for a long time. It's the timing of it, and because alcohol hits you faster. And the thing with edible cannabis, it's people have a really tough time gauging how much is too much because it takes so long.
Yeah.
People have a tough time gauging when too much alcohol is enough. I know full-grown adults in their mid-30s that still don't know that they've drank too much and then it's too late.
And they drink it way too fast.
Yeah, they just don't know. Cannabis is way worse than that. I mean, you gotta know your dose, take it, and then trust it. Like, okay, I know.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, one of my
And I think cannabis actually. Well, maybe alcohol does too, because I don't have as much experience with drinking alcohol and really paying attention to this. But there's a significant difference in the amount of milligrams that I can handle on an empty stomach versus with food too. So,
of course.
So what level you're satiated makes a big difference for me.
It hits you way faster.
Yeah. No, if I had a heavy meal, I can handle a lot more cannabis than if I am on an empty stomach, and I could be.
I had a buddy that we all know pretty well. Won't say this person's name, but
I already know you're going to talk about it. Did you ask him if we could share?
No, of course not.
Why not just ask him?
Because there's still a stigma surrounding cannabis.
No, there's not.
Well, I mean, this person.
Do I know this story?
For this person.
Yeah.
For this person, you can't. But anyway,
It's one of our podcast buddies.
It's somebody we know that. Let's not narrow it down anymore. Looking at him.
Here we go.
I didn't say his name.
So I get a
yes.
I get a
I know
text.
what you're talking about now.
I get a
dude.
text message, and this is somebody who's kind of a
Maybe
goody,
we'll reveal this.
kind of a goody two shoes. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of a square, right?
He's a nerd.
Cool person. Enough, Adam. So I get this text, and it's a picture of like a half-eaten brownie. And in the message, he sends it a laughing like emoticon.
Yeah.
And he's like, giggle, and he's like, I'm feeling really funny right now. And I'm like, oh shit, like, because I've been talking to this person and trying to coach them about using cannabis in the past.
It's such a nice PC way to say it. You've been trying to push drugs on him, bro.
So no,
I've been trying to get him high.
Expand your mind.
no, they were asking me questions about how much they should use and do. And of course, between the three of us, they trust me the most because A, Adam was going to make you do too much.
Right.
And B, Justin doesn't really care. So he's asking me and he trusts me. But he didn't take my advice. So he sends me a picture of this and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I know what that is. So I send a message back and I'm like, how do you feel right now? He's like, I think it's too much. He goes, I'm feeling really, really high. Like it's a little too much.
He's like 30 minutes in.
So I texted him back and I'm like,
oh, it's going to get worse.
and I'm like, how many milligrams of cannabis or THC was in that brownie? And his next one, I don't know. And I'm like, you're fucked.
Oh, yeah. You're
Because I'm looking at it and he ate half. And I know the way they make brownies nowadays.
No,
A brownie's 10 doses.
you might just want to do the corner if that,
Yeah.
start.
And you know the timing too. Like if
And I
you're,
know
if,
the
you're
timing.
if you're feeling it, if you're giggly already and it's 30, 45 minutes in, it's like buckle up.
So I send him.
It's going to come in waves.
I send him another text. And I'm like, when did you eat that? First of all, I said, what's the dose? He goes, I have no idea. So I sent back a reply like, LOL. I said, you probably ate 4 or 5 doses. I said, but no, don't worry, it's not toxic. And I said, when did you eat it? And he goes, feels like 2 hours ago. And then the next text, oh, never mind. My girlfriend says I ate it 40 minutes ago. And I'm like, okay, I got some bad news for you.
How did you receive it? Did he get all scared and paranoid? Or
No, but I knew if this was at somebody else that I could fuck with, I would have had a good time.
Oh,
I would have pushed it. I would have been really
pushed the
terrible.
limit.
Like,
you should probably check yourself at the hospital.
Yeah.
You better call a doctor.
check your pulse. If it starts to
You
speed
should
up,
probably call the police there. the police officers that called.
I told him, I said, I got some bad news for you, buddy. I said, hang in there. I said, it's going to keep getting a lot worse.
Yeah.
I got
Get
another
a seatbelt.
I got another text 30 minutes later, and he's like, oh man, I don't know what's going on. And then nothing. I had radio silence for like 4 or 5 hours. Then he gets back on. He's like, bro, he goes, I was hearing things. I thought people were out to get me. I had to keep talking to myself that, not everybody's out to get me.
Bro, I heard my hair growing.
Oh, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Overdosing like that.
No, it's not at all.
Right, boys?
No.
You guys have any experience?
Yeah, I've had a
Kept me
couple
away
of
from
those.
cannabis for a
couple of
very
those.
long time, man.
Bro, what about recently? What are you talking about? Not that long ago, you drank that whole can of whatever.
Well, I'm
it was.
okay with it now, like
Yeah.
right. So when I go too far now, like it's happened enough times in my life that I'm comfortable. But when it's your first time of feeling that,
Yeah.
it isn't numb. It was probably one of the better things that happened to me though, because I was 21 or 22. I can't remember how old I was when the first real cannabis experience I had.
Because you can make it worse because you're panicking.
Yeah. No, exactly. If
Your
you
heart
don't-
rate goes up, and then
Yeah.
I feel like I can't like breathe. Right. It's like it's just, I hate
It was
that
awful.
feeling.
Didn't you have a recent?
I had one, dude.
Yours is my favorite.
I went to a movie theater, and I thought that it was just CBD. Like, it was just like the CBD one, because I bought at the dispensary like a CBD based like
It was
product.
It was a Chiba Chew.
Chiba Chew, but they come in different variations apparently. So this one had like the ratio. I think it was like
1-to-1.
yeah, but it was like 50. Was it?
No. The one that we did before was 50 milligrams of CBD, which is
CBD.
non-psychoactive, 2 milligrams of THC. Super mild,
So this
super
was
chill.
50-50.
This was, I think it was like you took like 30 milligrams of THC or something like that, or maybe more.
No, it was 50.
Oh,
Yeah,
was it
yeah,
more?
it was like 50
man.
milligrams.
50 milligrams. And so I was expecting to not feel psychoactive effects, right?
So you're sitting there watching a movie. What
So
happened?
I'm watching a movie and I'm getting through the previews. I'm like, whoa, I know this feeling. Like, what is this? Like, why? Like, oh, okay, maybe this. Because I also, like I had a hit of the relief pen, and it was like because
so
it
you
had
doubled
CBD in it, so I doubled up, and so I had a little bit of THC in that. I was like, oh, maybe it was from that, no big deal. And it started ramping up, and it started ramping up, and it started ramping up, and then it got to a point where like there was this part, and like I think it was this one part where like this evil villain, right, in the movie was like. Basically had like mind.
What are you watching?
Messages.
What movie are you watching?
The Incredibles. So the villain in it.
What a
right?
great movie to be high in.
Yeah,
Not this
not
high.
this kind of high. No. So he starts using this suggestive like mind, like hypnosis.
Yeah.
And then I started fucking hearing things. Like real, like
Is it when the
real
screen was
crazy
flashing?
stuff? Yeah, it was almost like I was going to go into like a seizure, like. And they said in the beginning, there's a warning, like, hey, warning. There's like if you're anything like you have any kind of condition, like be aware.
And of course, at this point, you remember the warning.
Well, exactly, and that's exactly what happens to you when you go overboard like that. That's what it.
Panic setting.
Right,
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit.
In my chest, I couldn't. I'm looking up. I couldn't keep looking up, and I started like literally hearing things. Like I was like tripping out.
What were you hearing?
Just like evil shit.
Dead
No,
people.
wait.
Yeah, bro.
Like voices?
Dead
Yeah,
people.
like a voice, like because he was manipulating like this hypnosis thing in the movie, like that was like entering my my thoughts, and it started to play all these. I don't know. I was tripping out.
What was
dude.
it saying? I want to know. What
Oh,
it said.
I forget now, but it was like something like it was like you're gonna die, and like,
Oh my
I'm gonna
God.
fucking kill you, like all like crazy shit, And so I got up and I left the theater and I started walking around the theater like real slowly, and then it wasn't working, and I was like, I just gotta go home. And I went home and sat on the couch.
Did you throw up?
Puked my brains out, and then was
Oh.
like just laying there watching SpongeBob, and then finally my kids were at my parents, thankfully, but I was just like laying there just trying to come back to normal. It was gnarly, dude. I did not have fun at all.
You do not. It is the worst thing. Drinking too much alcohol is probably not even as bad as having too much. At least too much alcohol, you're thrown up and you're sick, and of course you can die. So I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
But too much cannabis is terrifying.
Well, and it was unexpected, like that was the other, because like I was expecting to have like CBD. That's not gonna do shit.
No.
Like I just totally got thrown off kilter.
I told you guys about my client who they had. Yeah, I can't say too much because I don't want to rat anybody out, but they had like a corporate housing for when they would fly people in and stuff. And apparently somebody made pop brownies and left them in the fridge in the corporate housing. So somebody else went in there,
So great.
took the brownies, brought them to work, and put them in a break room. And this is a large tech company.
Oh my god!
So nobody knew that they were eating a shit ton of THC. Nobody had an idea.
Creativity is going through the roof.
Now this person of mine who's a friend, she was a CFO of a company. So she's in her office, and right around 2 p.m., right around after, like 2 hours after lunch, because everybody went in there and ate the fucking brownies. She's getting phone calls, like ambulances are showing up. She's like, what's going on? She goes down there, and there's like 15 people spread out. One guy's got his shirt open. I'm dying. Everybody's on the floor. Ambulances showing up, checking on people. Like everybody's okay. But something must have happened. Freaking out. She goes in the break room, sees the crumbs, starts to put two and two together, and she's like, oh, everybody just had too much cannabis. But actually had to call ambulances and shit.
Because they had no idea what was going on.
It's a fucking terrible. It's a terrible feeling.
It's the unexpected.
Absolute terrible feeling. One of the worst things I ever did was when I flew. I went to Italy, and I was by myself because at the time my ex-wife left and she was there with the kids, and I was going to meet them there. And I hate flying. I really don't like flying. And I had just gotten a dental procedure, and my dentist, who's my friend, is like, "Hey, do you want Xanax for your dental procedure?" So I'm like, "Sure." Never took them, but I had them. So I get on the plane, and I took a full milligram of Xanax, which apparently is a strong dose, and I took an edible with it. Dude, you ever sleep so hard that you can't wake up? Yeah. You ever have that feeling?
Yeah.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
I was on the plane, and I was like,
you're like trying to get up, and you're just like, no. You're like, body's fighting it.
Oh, it was a terrible feeling. But that 10-hour flight went by pretty quick.
Dude, you know what's crazy? So like, I mean, I'm hearing all these like stories coming out about Ambien and like what kind of crazy shit people have done like on Ambien and like have actually run people over, not even knowing it. They've like painted their bathroom like with their lipstick and like done like crazy shit, like and had no idea. Just like they got up out of their bed and just started doing shit.
Sleep eating, like they'll get up and there's been stories of people who took Ambien to sleep and then they couldn't figure out why they were gaining weight.
I had a client who had this, and he actually ended up having to put a lock on his refrigerator.
Dude.
He would sleep eat?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, I trained this guy, Leland, and he used to big.
What's his first and last name?
Yeah. Come on, there's fucking a million Lelands out there, right? This guy was
it's
like
a common name. It's like John.
big dude.
Really can't narrow that one down proximity wise.
Leland's that trade with Adam Shaver. Anyway.
Bay Area like research.
No, this and he was a big dude, real big dude. He was like high 200s, almost 300 pounds, and he was a great client. I love training him. Just thinking about him right now, I was remembering all the funny stories of training this guy. Like he was notorious for between sets. He he figured, and it took me a while before I started to piece this together. He would distract me with questions so he could rest longer.
Oh,
Did you guys ever have a client that do things like that? Because I cared so much about teaching my clients, and even though they were there to get worked out, and I was going to push them through their workout or whatever. You know, I also, if you had a question about something, I would want to explain it, and you know, he was one of the first clients that I ever like realized like, oh, this fucker is actually
I can get him going here so I can rest longer.
So we would do like hard stuff, like whenever we were doing like squats or something like that, he would be like, hey, explain this to me, Adam. You're talking about thermogenesis, like exactly what does that mean? And like so then I'd have to go into like detail explain. And like this fucker, every time if I increase the intensity just a little bit, this dude would ask these questions. So he was a great client, but he also we struggled a lot. Like I got him through like the first like good 50 pounds, and it was a long time before he came forward on this. And he says, I've been taking this, and I don't know if it was Ambien, but he was taking something to help him sleep at night. And he goes, I get up and I sleepwalk, and then I go in the kitchen and I make food. And he goes, and I don't remember it. He goes, I swear. And I'd be like, I was kind of calling him bullshit. I was like, no, come on,
like that's the worst excuse I've ever heard.
Yeah, I was like, come on, dude. Like you and he. I'm like,
my dog ate my homework too.
I'm like, yeah. What are you going in there and you're just like drinking something or what that? He's like, no, I'll make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm like, come on, you're making a sandwich and you don't remember, but he's to the point where
it happens.
Yeah, he ended up putting a lock on the refrigerator. He did a whole thing.
So there's stories of people who will make the weirdest dishes, like they'll make like ketchup and cereal bowls, or they'll take bread and put chicken in it and just do weird things and eat them. And then there's a story I was reading about this whole article about this situation. This one man's a wife would take Ambien, or I don't remember what the medication was, but she'd wake up in the middle of the night and have the freakiest sex with him in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And he
does not sound like a bad side effect.
And he
what's the name of the drug?
He starts doubling it up in her tea.
Just pouring that.
Here's your tea.
Well, no, so he would make little comments, but she didn't pick up on it. So he'd say something like, "Last night was good," and she'd be like, "Whatever." Yeah. Not picking up on it. And then he said something to her about like, man, this is not like you. Like you're really
a tomcat.
I really enjoy what's going on. She had no idea.
Wow.
And he was so happy because I guess the sex was incredible and dirty or whatever, and she's never liked that. I wonder if he was like,
wow,
fuck, I shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, you blew it, buddy. That was your one ticket to heaven right there.
Tiger Woods get in trouble? Isn't that one of the drugs he would take with these girls to party?
That's Bill Cosby.
No. Not to God, Adam. No.
Yikes.
Tiger Woods himself took drugs with these prostitutes or whatever, and one of them, I believe, was Ambien, and they would take it and try not to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh.
And apparently that's the thing.
Any of those drugs that like kind of suppress you like that gives you this high when your body when you try and fight it and you stay awake.
Is it like when a little kid doesn't go to sleep and they get all wired and crazy?
Yeah, I think so.
You ever seen that? I always thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, that makes no sense.
They
You're
get
so tired.
so silly. at that point,
we've all been this way. I've definitely got here before where, I'm trying to think the last time. It wasn't that long ago. I know with Katrina, where I've just had this crazy day. I was up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and just like grinding all day long, and then just one thing after another, and then it's like midnight, and I was exhausted at 5. And you had to push through all the way, and then like at midnight I can't sleep, and I have the giggles. I'm just like in a goofy mood.
Yeah, how stupid.
Yeah,
I wonder, does that happen before or after you get like really angry? Because it's one or the other for me. yeah. Like if I get really overtired, like I get like insanely angry.
Do you really?
Yeah,
Wow.
but then there's sometimes I'll get goofy and like just loopy. you know?
I think it's after that, right? I think after you've been so exhausted, you've broke through that, and it's just like now you just fuck it. Everything's funny to you.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
No, this happened to me yesterday. I was so tired because the night I was up the other night because my daughter was sick. I go to lay down to take a nap, and you guys know me. I can take a nap whenever I want. So I'm like, I'm going to take a 25-minute nap, and I shut my eyes, and then I tried to get up so hard. I was like, what the fuck? It felt like it should be the morning. That's how hard I slept. And I ended up sleeping for an hour. I never do that. I took an hour nap out of nowhere.
You ever like slightly wake up, but you can't, but you feel like something sitting on your chest?
Can't move?
Yeah.
That is a terrifying feeling.
Oh, I hate that.
That's a sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Is what it's called. Did that ever happen to you, Adam?
I get the, when your arm falls asleep so bad and you can't move it.
Oh, yeah. That's tricky too.
Where like it completely goes.
And then you move like this and it just flops around.
You still
You have to lift it with your other arm?
Yeah.
Like
I hate that.
And I feel like as I've gotten older, it takes longer to come back to life.
That's when you do
that's when you do
the stranger.
Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm going like, oh God, this is. I'm looking at my watch, going like, oh shit, this is like a whole minute.
Get a real quick stranger pump in. Like a limp wrist.
No, the sleep paralysis is fucking terrifying. I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst feelings in the world. But it's a real common one. I guess it's because your brain is. And now, what are you doing? What are you thinking when this happens to you? Because I have this weird thought process.
Yeah.
I think to myself like, make sound so people know.
You can't make sound though. Like,
I think I do, but I think this is what it sounds like. Because you can't really do much, but I want someone to be like, oh my God, Sal needs help. Wake him up. Thank you so much. I was in sleep paralysis. Instead, what I've done
I
is
can only see like so far too, like the little slits of your eyes open, I couldn't like even open my eyes that wide in that state.
It's a weird state to be in, but then, I have come up with a couple tricks. So if this ever happens to you, so I used to have a lot of sleep issues.
Yeah, that's happened to me before.
I had a lot of sleep issues as a kid. So, and this is why I think, I was able to lucid dream at such a young age and so consistently. And this is another thing that used to happen to me all the time was that sleep paralysis. And what I did is I developed a technique to get myself out of it. So the way you get out of it is you have to start moving a part of your body. Once you start moving a part of the body, the rest of you wakes up, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's hard to do, but you can typically move your tongue.
Oh, your tongue.
Yes. So if you're in this position,
I was gonna say toes. I was trying to wiggle them.
No, it's impossible. Everything
is.
is move your tongue in your mouth, move it around, and then little by little you should be able to move the rest of your body and wake up.
That's gotta look really weird for Courtney to see that.
What's he dreaming?
She's like, oh, it's happening again.
Yeah. When you sleep at night, do you sleep with your wife, like with your arm around her, or she's sleeping on her side?
Are you?
Nah, no, not at all. Not at all.
We talked about this
I'm
the other
too
day.
hot, dude. I don't want anybody near me.
You're the cuddler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the spooner.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
I
the
hold her
cuddle.
hand for a bit, and then I'm just like, okay, see you later.
Really?
Like tomorrow.
You're so cuddly though.
I am. I'm like a touchy person, with her, but like at the same time, like I need my space.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of a weird,
Katrina got mad at me because I said that I'm not on the podcast the other day.
That you're not a cuddler?
Yeah, she said, you are too a cuddler. Only because I love you. I fucking hate it.
Oh no.
no, now you.
No.
Yeah.
That's what I told her. I said, because you want to all the time and I love you. So that's me right there.
Oh, I'm a big cuddler, and my girl's a big cuddler.
It's got to be cold as man. If it's freezing, I'm all about it, man. But it's just rare that it's that freezing. I mean, we live in California.
You don't show a lot of signs of affection in public, right? You're not a PDA person.
No. In fact, that's definitely a flaw of mine for sure is that I'm not a. It's weird.
You just rub ears.
No. I'm a touchy feely person. Like you, I put my hands on your shoulders and put my arm around you guys and hug people. Like I do all that stuff, but
Little grabby grab.
I'm not. I'm not affectionate.
Little junk tap.
I'm not very affectionate with Katrina in public at all. I'm not into that, and it's something that I've had to get better about too. Because I know there's moments where that makes her feel good. Because especially in what we do and being a trainer and being around, there's many times where I have her with me, and then we run into people or there's girls and things like that.
It has to
and
be,
I know that has to make your partner
not as much, but then I'll do that, and then she's just like, she just thinks that like I'm immediately trying to like get in her pants. Yeah. I'm like, calm down, just give me a kiss. She's
smart.
That's because 9 times
she knows that it's in my head always. But at the same time, like I'm just being affectionate.
I'm a huge touchy feely person in public, wherever, it doesn't matter. And then Jessica is too, so we'll just hang on each other. I'm like that with my kids. I'm like that with my friends. Yeah. I can't help it. But what I don't like is when it's fake. Like sometimes you'll see guys and girls do this to each other in front of other people.
Oh God!
To claim them almost.
Oh yeah.
I hate that.
No, you can see that. It's so funny. You just reminded me. So we get out.
So I know gross. Someone in particular.
Katrina and I, we got out of the theater. This was just last weekend, and we come walking out to our car, and we parked kind of far. This was over at the Campbell area, right? So we park away so we can get a nice little. What was part of some of our strategies, keeping our steps up, right? We park far away from it, and so it's kind of this like dark part of the parking lot. And we come walking around to our car, and there's like literally a couple leaning on our car, like just making out
on your car.
Yeah, and they're like in their probably early 40s.
Oh God,
right?
No.
And they're
what that is, right?
So listen.
Yeah,
listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, why you gotta fucking ruin the story, dude?
It's true though. You
guys are fucking terrible. I'm trying to tell you.
Oh damn it.
So what made the story great, if you let me fucking finish, was we come walking around and Katrina's like, oh my God, that's so and I'm like oh,
you knew
God.
right away.
Yeah, right away I knew.
Of course.
And so we get in the car and stuff like that, and I'm like, and I just kind of like, well, that was an affair, right?
Yeah.
And Katrina's like, now why do you have to think like that or say that? It doesn't. How do you? I'm like, honey, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
It's Tuesday night at 10 o'clock at night. They drove separate. We watched because they felt embarrassed right when we rolled up. As soon as we come walking around the corner and they saw that it was our car that we're trying to get into that they're like leaning against, they bolted to their 2 separate cars.
Yeah, they're trying to sneak it in.
Yeah, and then just took off. And I'm like, dude, they were
Nobody behaves like that.
No.
Yeah.
40-years,
especially
that drive nice,
committed relationship,
and they were in business attire. They were looking their work attire. You could tell they were in still their work attire for sure.
Yeah,
like you do. I was like, when have we ever made out in a parking lot like that? Like on a Tuesday night.
That's the kind of passion.
I'm
that
like 18 or 20.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the kind of passion you see early on in a relationship when two people are just like
right.
So either they just started dating, or they were cheating on their boyfriends or spouses or whatever.
Totally
which
cheating.
Is probably
totally cheating. It was so obvious to me. It was so obvious in the fact that she didn't think that right away. I thought it was so cute. I was like, get out of here with that, dude. They're not. They are so not.
Oh, it's like, oh yeah, no.
After I broke it down, she's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're probably right. Actually.
Yeah.
That smells like infidelity.
You should have freaked him out. I'm gonna tell your wife. Give me $20.
Hey, your wife watched that movie.
Even the way they broke. It was like so obvious to me. It was. I mean, it was like full on eating each other's faces.
Yeah.
Realize that they're leaning against our car, that we have to get into that car, and it was like they just like see you later, and then just went.
Plus, it's making out. Like full on making out typically happens in the beginning of a relationship. It doesn't typically happen after a few years.
No, nobody does that.
You know what I mean?
After a while.
Yeah.
No, and they were eating each other's faces.
It was like big, just
and they're not.
Just
you see that like okay, now that's a little common in front of the mall still with the 15 to 17-year-old group range, but not a 40-year-old off of Tuesday night.
Old ass.
Yeah, 40-year-old Tuesday night after work in your business clothes in the parking lot. Like
it's like an office affair or something. Like over in the in the back cubicle.
For sure, dude.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Doug, what are we at 3? How many days left are we at for the end of the launch promo for Strong?
3 days left.
You know what? I'm so pumped about how this one is because I remember when we first created it, there was a little bit of hesitancy on would the audience love it as much as everything else, and I was blown away by the responses that we're getting with this, dude. And I think it's because
people want to be strong, man.
It's one of my favorite programs I've ever done.
You said Jessica. You said Jessica's
favorite program. Why is it her favorite program? First of all, there's a lot of posterior chain stuff in it, but the exercises are different. The workouts are different. It's functional in a different way, and it's just fun, especially if you're into strength. So like if you like MAPS Anabolic and you're into strength, Map Strong is like a great progression because it's a lot of strength stuff. But then again, the work sessions are, you need fucking stamina for that shit.
There's great moves in there too. The circus press, dude. Like there's cool stuff in there.
You feel like a powerful badass doing the stuff in this program. It's so much fun, man.
Well, it's the only program too that we even touch 20 rep range.
Oh, dude.
And that was
like right out of the chute.
Bro, the heavy carries are my favorite. I never knew that those things would build that much muscle until I did them consistently like I did through the program.
Man.
So there's only a few days left, so make sure you go check that out.
Get it.
Mapstrong.com.
Today's Quah is brought to you by MAPS Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, MAPS Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
Quah.
First question is from Josh Deepas. How important are scheduled rest days?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, very good question.
Yeah.
It's very
important.
Very important to
Very
give,
overlooked too.
to give your body a break. But I do want to be clear when I'm talking about rest days what I mean.
Yep.
I do think, doing nothing sometimes is good for you if you want to relax or whatever. But when I schedule a rest day to me, what it used to mean when I was a kid was to sit on the couch and do nothing.
Kick your feet up and veg.
Yeah, because when I was younger, I was under the impression that any calorie that I burned would be a calorie that wouldn't go towards building muscle. So I would lift weights, and then I'd try to conserve as much energy as possible to build muscle. That's actually not the case. Active recovery or moving, maybe not working out that day, but actually moving your body like you're doing a hike or you're doing mobility work or you're doing some stretches or housework or whatever, is actually more conducive to recovery. It actually helps you recover faster and build more muscle. The laying down type of rest where you do nothing, there's very, very few times when that's appropriate. And that's when you really, really overdone it, when you really worked out too hard to the point
like
where
you competed or something. Or you
Yeah.
did something like insanely strenuous the day before.
Yeah, you're inflamed or whatever.
Yeah.
But otherwise, if you lay down and do nothing on a rest day, you're actually going to compromise your progress. Anytime
Right.
you don't move, muscle tries to pare itself down. And for those that don't believe me, put your forearm in a cast for just 2 days. Just see what happens in 2 days. You'll lose muscle in that 2 day
I
period.
always feel more sore and stiff, if I haven't been able to move and keep things going. And then getting into the next workout, you just dread it, man. If you've just been laying around and you haven't been actively recovering.
It is. On average, I would say that for me, I have some kind of a scheduled workout every single day, but I modify the intensity so much that in reality I can consider at least 1 to 3 of them to be active rest days. So I might do some light trigger sessions or some mobility work, but I only really more important than I guess scheduling the rest days is scheduling the hard workout days, and everything else.
So I'm glad you went that way because I really don't schedule a rest day. Like I don't look at a week and go like, okay, this is on this day, this and this day, and then Thursday I'm going to take that day off of lifting. Like it doesn't look like that for me. And this is why too, and I've talked on this show a lot that no matter what program I'm following or what my goal or adaptation is, I'm going to the gym. I'm trying to go to the gym 7 days a week. Now sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes I'm out of town and it just doesn't happen. But I have a time in the day that I want to get to the gym for that 1 to 2 hour block that I want to be consistent about. And then I dictate what that looks like really the day going into it, or maybe the day before, because I kind of can feel how my body feels like this. So yesterday, we had this was unplanned for me. It was unplanned that we knew I was going to do a YouTube shoot, but I didn't realize all the movements that I was going to be doing, and I had planned a workout. And I really wanted to kind of get after my workout, but I actually did quite a bit of volume in my YouTube. So but it wasn't really damaging. So I ended up just counting this as like an active recovery day and then just chalked it up instead of going and pushing my body beyond. Like now I feel great today. Now I can get after my lift today that I didn't do yesterday. So I don't schedule rest. And the reason, and I have in the past, so I have tried this before. I have tried like, okay, I'm going to really, make sure I don't do anything. But then I end up staying and doing nothing all day long. So, and then what ends up happening is inevitable. Something happens in my week where I get busy or I don't have as much time, and then I don't get that hard workout that I wanted to get. And so I feel like instead of like scheduling a day that I'm for sure going to take a day off on Friday, it's like I go about my week. I'm planning to go to the gym every single day, but based off of how I feel going into that workout, it may end up being a quote unquote rest day or I don't even like saying, I like to call them active recovery days now. I don't even consider them. I don't consider, because a rest day I think has,
it's got the connotation of doing nothing.
Right. I think I teach people like there are no rest days. You know what there are there's hard foundational
lower intensity
there's
days.
Hard foundational workout days, which is how we designed our program, and then you have the off days, which was how we've programmed, and we teach people to do mobility or to do focus sessions, which are these lower intensity types of exercises that still promote movement, promote blood flow, promote oxygen, promote recovery in the body, but you're still active and moving. You're just not doing a lot of damage to the body.
Yeah, and I feel like you could get more sophisticated with it, and like, you know, you see that with HRV, and you see that with like you know, technology that exists out there that's really trying to monitor those variables, you know, more specifically, or like somebody like Mike Salemi that actually charts, you know, his heart rate and is really in tune with you know, the amount of stress he's applying to his body. But you know, for your average person, I mean, it's really just like you got to base every day, like, and judge every morning differently, and like, and you just proceed forward with whatever type of, you know, like energy you have to.
That's a great point right there too. That's something else I take into consideration too. Is, you know, some days I want to get I had planned to get a really hard workout. But then that's also just ends up being a really stressful day. Maybe I didn't sleep well that night before. You know, I didn't get proper meals in earlier, so I'm not fueled properly either. And so just because I had planned I was going to crush the weights, I may end up swapping that out for more of a active recovery day where I'm not hammering the weights, and then let myself get fed, rested really well, and then I end up switching the days.
But we got to make that point. Active recovery amplifies or facilitates recovery. So you actually speeds up the recovery process and contributes to your progress, you know, AKA.
So it's still
more
positive.
Muscle.
It's not like you're detracting.
No, you build more muscle, you burn more body fat, and you can move better. I remember the first time I learned this lesson was as a kid. I think I was 15 or 16 years old, and I had just bought myself a BMX, you know, bike. I had bought myself a Mongoose.
Yeah.
After you watch Rad or what?
No, I never watched that movie.
Send me an angel.
Can you please watch that?
I'll watch it. It looks terrible though, but I'll watch it.
Such a good movie.
Yeah, I'll watch it. So anyway, and during this period of time, of course, I started lifting weights at 14. I was very serious about it. And I thought if I worked out a muscle group and it was sore, leave it alone so that I can repair and rebuild. This was the understanding that I had, and it was obviously false. So I had worked out my arms really hard one day. My biceps were super sore. I was trying to get my arms to grow. And the next day I woke up, they were really sore. But my cousin comes over, and he has his new BMX bike. He had a Haro, I think it was. So he shows up, and he's like, dude, let's go fucking bunny hopping and jumping and all this other shit. So I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. My arms are sore. I don't know if I should ride. And he's like, don't be a pussy. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I get on my bike, and we go. And
that's all you got to say.
It's all 15-year-old boy, that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it, man.
And all day long, what we did is we jumped off the curb and did bunny hops. Well, that's a lot of biceps and forearms, a lot, all day long. And I remember halfway through it, I was like, damn, I wasted my workout. Like, my biceps are sore. I'm not giving them an opportunity to grow because I'm pulling on these bars. But whatever, I'm having fun. But I remember being kind of disappointed. No joke, the next day, my arms were a little bit bigger. And I remember thinking, well, that's weird. I was just pulling on this handlebar all the time while I'm working out. And I've had a lot of those examples throughout my life, and really, it really came to fruition the first time I applied the concepts of MAPS Anabolic in the trigger sessions. And I remember being like, man, I'm recovering way faster, and I'm building more muscle by moving, not by not moving.
Right.
Not moving doesn't do that. So that's why we do that in all of our programs. Now, MAP Strong is a little different because you have your work sessions, which if you're doing the program and what I'm getting, the messages I'm getting, the work sessions are harder than the foundational workouts, and they are.
Yeah.
They'll kick your ass. But there's a couple days off during the week where you have no scheduled workouts. On those days, I highly recommend, if you're doing MAP Strong, to do something that's light and active that moves the body. And look, we've all experienced this. You know, if you're listening right now, you know what I'm talking about. You hammer your legs get real sore. Do they feel better after you stretch them, or do they feel worse after you stretch them? They typically feel better.
Right.
Just get up and move, and it makes things
Get that
progress.
blood flow. That's how you
Exactly.
heal.
Next up is fishtails. What are your thoughts on kids and weight training? When is a good time to start and how? What qualities in a trainer should I look for if I were to hire one?
Man, I wish that I was introduced to training as a kid. I really do. I really wish that. I think there's so many things that the kid can learn other than just building muscle, like just the discipline of it and the understanding the body
Well,
and
the skills you carry with you the rest of your life.
Yeah, like I mean, I get really excited when I watch you right now, Sal, with your son and what you're going through right now, because I think it's a really cool thing to see at his age, to see him kind of wanting to learn and get excited about that. And I can't wait to watch him develop over the next 3 to 5 years and what that does for him.
Well, besides the fact that it's me and him, having a nice bonding time, which that's the part that I really like. That's the part that makes my heart swell, is that I get to share something with him that because I don't like video games and he loves them, and I actually thought about getting a computer and getting good at them so I could do that with him, but it's it's something I have to go do or whatever. But now he's into weights, we get to bond over it, and I freaking love it. But there's a lot of tremendous other benefits that come from resistance training. And one of the ones that working out with kids or training kids was one of my favorite things to do as a trainer. My two favorite demographics were people in advanced age and kids. They always have been. I love working with those two groups.
The two I hated.
I know. And a lot of trainers say that. A lot of trainers say those are the two that they don't like. Yeah. But I loved working with old people because the stories they would tell me would be just amazing. And I love working out with kids because I loved seeing how the rest of their life would take hold and shape because of the lessons they learned with the resistance training. Now, one of the things about exercise that's so phenomenal is it's so black and white. And what I mean by that is you exercise and you do a good job today, the next time you come in, you're stronger. It's very clear, black and white, put in hard work.
Yeah, 1 + 1 = 2.
Here's your result and here's your progress. Very few things in life are like that, in the sense that, like let's say you're working towards getting better grades. It could take you weeks of studying before you see that. Or let's say you want to become successful in business. It could take you years of work or whatever. I could typically show a kid a difference in strength in one workout, especially a kid, because kids' bodies respond so fast. So what I would do when I train a kid is I'd do an exercise with them. Let's say I did push-ups, then I'd write it down and I'd show them. I'd always do this with kids. I'd show them, all right, today you did 10 push-ups and it was really hard. And I'd say, okay, remember that. And I'd show them. They'd go, oh yeah, I remember that. Then they'd come in the next time and I'd have them do push-ups. I know what would happen. They'd be able to do one more, at least one more. 1 to 2 more is average. Yeah. Then they'd do another push-up and they'd be like, how was that? And they would forget. Yeah. They'd totally forget. And they'd be like, oh, that was pretty good. I said, well, you did 11. I said, do you remember what you did last time? Well, I don't know, about the same. I said, you did 10 and they were really hard for you. I said, do you know what that means? And they would always look at me. I said, your body is not the same body as it was last week. It is fundamentally different. The body you had last week could only do 10 push-ups. The body that has developed as a result of that workout this week can now do 11 push-ups. You are not the same person, and you did that because you did that workout. And the looks on kids' faces, that same exact speech every time, the look on a kid's face is absolutely priceless. And then to see them take that lesson of sacrifice, work, result, and apply it towards school, towards whatever, it's fucking amazing.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because my view of it has definitely changed as far as training kids, and like there used to be like an age limit for me, like no, I don't think they should be doing anything other than play, and like learning for themselves and like understanding and finding their own body movement patterns and figuring that out. But structured play is so beneficial, and then also just like if they're into it and they're coming in and they want to learn and they want to actually like lift weights. If you have a good coach, somebody that really knows mechanics soundly and can teach it, man, what a gift you're giving a kid going forward for the rest of their life. As long as it's like a coach that you trust and it's somebody that like really knows how to teach it to this kid and have them go through those movements.
Yep.
And the thing is with that, like it doesn't have to be a lot of weight, but it's the experience they're going to go through to see that, like Sal's saying, is like just the gradual progression of that. and then taking that skill set and ironing out that skill set. That's huge. That's why I'm excited about same thing. Like my boys get older. Like right now it's a little bit more heavy on the play side, and they do ask me every now and then, like I've been trying to sharpen up like their kettlebell press, or like we've worked with kettlebells a little bit, but they see me working with a barbell. And so I actually am looking into they have these kids barbells now that would be a great, doesn't weigh that much, but as far as like them, they're already mimicking my movements. Why not teach it,
dude?
And set them up.
And the key really, if you're for a trainer to train kids, the reason, because I did very well at this, parents would bring me their kids, and then parents would come back after a week and be like, I want to hire you for the next 6 months or whatever. And they'd buy these massive packages. And really the reason why I was successful with kids is I made sure the kids enjoyed being there. That's the key, by the way. Key is, when you're working with adults,
you can't force it.
Yeah, when you're working with adults, you could just be like, do this, do that, work on this. But adults still need to like you too if you want to be a successful trainer. With kids, it's even more important. Like they go to school, they get told what to do, but now they're going to come to work out, and you got to kind of make it enjoyable, have a good time. And so what I would do is I would spend the set that we were doing, so we would do an exercise, and then I became a trainer when we're doing the set. Pull your shoulders back, grab the bar, squeeze it, pull it down. I'd say things like, oh, you're getting stronger. That's awesome. Keep going, John. That's great. And then they put it up, and then we'd have conversation that had nothing to do with the workout. Dude, tell me about what happened yesterday. And they'd tell me about their schoolwork, or what's that game you're playing? And they'd tell me about that, and I'd joke around with them, have a good time. Okay, let's do another set. And then I became a personal trainer. And because I broke it up that way, I kind of became friends with these kids, and they looked up to me. And I think that's what you want for a trainer for your kid. You want a trainer that your kid
he definitely
looks up to.
Relate with them.
He definitely needs to have patience. I think if you hire a trainer out of a facility, the place you actually want to go to is the boss, right? So you would want to come to me in this situation, because I'm the one who's going to tell you of my 20 trainers who's the right one for your kid. Like, instead of like walking up to who you think looks like a nice guy, or who looks like he would be cool, or someone that appeals to you, you go directly to the boss who oversees everybody in there, and you say, hey, listen, I'm considering bringing my kid in here, and I want to hire a trainer, but I want the best trainer for kids to take him, or her, whatever, like that, because then I could tell you based off my staff who would be the trainer that I think would best suit you, because all of my trainers should be capable of training kid, but I'll be the first to admit, like, I didn't have the patience. I didn't like it. It just drove me crazy, because like Sal, like you obviously found a way to break through to these kids, and you enjoyed that, and you got good at that craft. It was something that really quick I realized I didn't like doing, and I didn't need to do it, and so I'd turn it down. Some kid would want to. I don't have. I've got clients already. I liked training someone either my age up to like the 50, 60 range. Like, that was kind of my wheelhouse, and so I didn't train a lot of kids. Although I trained enough kids to know that it's challenging, because kids, they get distracted really easy. They don't have, their proprioception is terrible.
Oh, the biggest thing you have to focus on is body control.
Yeah, they have terrible.
The biggest thing.
They have terrible body control, and what it takes to gain body control takes some discipline and focus. And so
you got to slow everything down, which is hard for kids.
Right, and that's really, really tough to do. And I think that finding the right trainer who likes to do that and enjoys that process, I think, is really important. And I don't think anyone better to answer that would be than the boss.
Yeah, but I mean, and then let's talk about some of the benefits. Like, watching this with my son right now, the progress that kids make with weights is insane. They progress at such a rapid rate. Like, adults do not. They don't move like
it's that growth hormone, dude.
Well, I mean,
that growth hormone through the roof right now.
Well, it's not even just the strength. It's like the first time I trained my son and he'd hold dumbbells up, they'd be like, whoa, all over the place. And I'd have to kind of hold his wrists and help him balance. By the fourth workout, he's still wobbly, but it's like way smoother. I'm like, this looks like months of training has already kicked in, but we've only had 4 workouts. We're not even at the point yet where I can push him in terms of resistance. Yeah. When that starts to happen, it's going to be real exciting to see what can happen. But, it's you got to point things out to these kids too when you're training them. Like, whoa, if you're training, like when I train guys, especially if I was training like early teens, like that was usually the age group that people would bring me, like 13-year-old, 14-year-old. Yeah. And if I'm training I had a buddy that I trained for a long time. He's now an adult, but at the time when I started training, he was 13 years old and 14 years old. And he'd come in and he'd tell me about school and, oh, and I'd say, is there any girls in your school that you think are pretty? And he'd kind of get all shy. And then we do curls, and I'd yell across the gym, curls for the girls. And he'd be like, oh, all shy, and we'd laugh. And, you kind of, you buddy up with them a little bit and had a great time. But to watch their bodies change and respond to the strength that they build, it's incredible. And it's more permanent. You train a kid from 13, 14, 15, 16, and, it's more permanent fitness than trying to erase years of damage that you get with adults.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so important.
Next question is from Jen DeAngelis. How do you know when it's time to leave your personal trainer, and how do you break up with them when you feel like they're friends?
This is part of their trick.
Yeah.
It's that guilt.
If you're asking this question, it's time to leave. I mean, if you show up to your workouts, and there's a lot of things you get from your personal trainer. I had clients like this, right? I had clients that were with me for 10, 12, 13, 14 years. And I had one lady I trained for that long, and it was literally every Monday at 3 p.m. I trained her, and we did that for
forever,
over a decade, right?
I've had a few of those.
And I, probably 5 years into it, I remember I'd have these conversations with other trainers and people that worked with me, and I'd be like, it's crazy. Like, they don't really need me to do these exercises or to train them. They've been working out for so long. They have all the tools and all the information, and all the knowledge that they need just to train themselves. They could totally do it. They're not looking to be super advanced or anything. But I realized the reason why they came to see me was they enjoyed the session. They enjoyed the companionship of it, the motivation of it. And it was part of their schedule. And you know what? It worked for them, and they enjoyed it. So it's hard to say how you know when it's time, because I want to say things like, well, your workouts aren't changing anymore, progressing. But I had clients like that too, and I knew they saw value in just coming to see me. So it's very, very difficult. I think
I would say to them, this is what I would do if I'm the client and I'm not the personal trainer, because I know what it's like to be the personal trainer and be closing you. And I know that,
exactly.
And I'm really good
to overcome that.
Yeah, I'm really
whatever
good
you're going to tell me.
Right, I'm really good at that. So I know I'm sure there's probably been a lot of people that have been in this situation with me, especially as a young trainer early on. What I would say if I'm this person is I would say, hey, since this is my last contract with you, how do you think it's best I use my last 4 or 5 sessions or however many that you have left with them? And so you don't even...
Can we draw up a plan?
Yeah, so you don't even ask them, or you don't even let yourself get put in that situation. Because here's what I do as I train my trainers to do this. I know when you're coming up on a contract, and they're taught by someone like me on how to get you committed to the next contract before you're even up on this contract. So if he or she is a good trainer, they're already planting seeds to re-sign you and keep you going. And then if you're friends on top of that, it's really hard for you to say no. So you got to beat them to the punch before they're already signing you up for your next contract. You're telling them like, hey, since this is my last contract and we only have X amount of sessions left, how do you think it's the best for me to separate them out? And if you're already about to sign a new contract, then when you're signing the new contract, you're saying, this is going to be my last contract that I do. Is there a better way for us to spread the sessions out? Because I don't know how often you're seeing your trainer. Yeah. It's not a bad strategy to take, like, let's say you have 4 or 5 sessions, and I used to do this with some clients that, especially if they train with me for years or a long time, and then they were finally moving on. I'd say, hey, instead of us training your last 3 sessions next week, let's actually spread them out over the next 3 months, and you just check in with me. Come in and see me, and I can add more value to your life that way.
That's how you keep them for 10, 15, 20 years too.
Yeah, and exactly. And then they see value in that. They're like, oh shit, you know what? Like, just it's not that expensive for me to see Adam just one time a month. And he gives me kind of I can get feedback. Hey, how you been going?
It's usually one of those two things, right? It just got to where it's too expensive. Right, like it's really just like the money is the the monkey in the room, or there's another trainer or like a class that you're drawn to right now, and like you really want to go in that direction, but you don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever, and you just do that instead. And so it's like I get it, because you befriend, you create relationships, and it just happens naturally. But this is one of those things you have to just be honest and talk to them about it.
That's the key. Like, honesty is the best policy. I mean, there's a lot of awkward situations in life where you have to tell someone something that you don't want to tell them. But honesty, you'd be surprised how effective it is. I mean, if you
it's a lot better received than you think.
Yeah, if you go up to this trainer friend and they're a friend of yours and you say, hey, John, I know we only have 4 workouts left. I think let's set me up to do some of this on my own. I want to give this a shot. on my own, or I want to try something different, and tell them, like, I really appreciated working with you. I've learned a lot with you, and I've had a lot of fun, and I think it's time now I start trying some stuff out on my own. Just be totally honest.
Yeah.
It's really not a big deal. If they get their feelings hurt, that's on them. I mean, but you would be surprised how well people take honesty.
Yeah, and that happened, and like I remember in my career, it'd be some people like that had a lot of hesitancy to tell me, like, I can't do another month, like, and it was either financial or it was like just, they wanted a break and they wanted to do something else or whatever. I'm like, yeah, awesome. Like, do it. Like, what? Or we could work it out. We could spread out, like Adam's talking about. There's other options if it's a financial issue or whatever it is. But that conversation needs to happen. Don't, like, the more you think about it and dwell on it, the more it's going to get uncomfortable.
Right.
So just have that conversation already.
Next up is Week Rocker. What are your thoughts in regards to therapy with a professional? Have you ever sought counseling, and what was your experience like?
Well, you know what? I forgot about this. I forgot that you started that, didn't you? As far as, I've been through it my whole life, so it's like I'm obviously.
Was it like, what was it, like scheduled weekly? Because I know and was this after your father's suicide?
That was my first experience. That was my very first experience, but I've had many experiences with therapists and stuff since then. But it was originally with like a family counselor when my father committed suicide that we go to, and it was a really good time for me to see this because I also had a mom who remarried into a abusive relationship, and it was very dysfunctional. And so watching the counselor communicate and teach my parents how to communicate, I picked up on as a 8-9-year-old really well. And I definitely attribute a lot of my communication skills to all of the therapy that I went through. And honestly, to me, that it's so valuable just for that. Like this is what they're great at. I mean, a therapist, in my opinion, is up there with some of the best communicators out there. Like that's what they are incredible at doing, is communicating. So even if so I think some people go into therapy with like, oh, I have this problem and I'm going to go to this person and they're going to solve it. They don't solve it. They really just ask you all the right questions. You end up solving it yourself. But I think if you're smart and you can unpack that and you realize what they do, I think that just shows you the art of communication and that ability. And I think that carried with me for the rest of my life. And I think they're
like the ultimate interviewer.
Bro, they are. I mean, a therapist is... They do. They just sit back and ask questions, and they listen really well, and they dig deeper and deeper and deeper into the questions.
Well, talking is thinking. I mean, when you're having a conversation, you're thinking out loud, and it helps you organize your thoughts and put things into words. And a therapist is an unbiased individual, a professional who knows how to kind of remain that way and allow you to talk and ask you the right questions. Because sometimes, first off, talking to friends and family, that's also very effective. But it's quite common that they're not unbiased. I mean, if you have a problem and you're talking to a family member about it, they probably have an opinion and they're not unbiased. There's a biased opinion, or your spouse may be biased, or maybe there's a history there, or a friend. Here you get to meet a stranger that you have no past or history with, no resentment with, no issues with. They're unbiased. They're obviously professionals at what they do. So then you get to sit down, and what you end up finding when you talk to a counselor is, because you don't have all that background weight of whatever that you have, because you're talking to a stranger, you start to even communicate differently. You start to find that, oh, wow, I can actually process this a lot better and more effectively than I could before.
I think a lot of people don't know I tell you what, incredible book. I'm actually working through it a second time right now because this has probably been the best read this year for me, and that's How Emotions Are Made. And a lot of people don't realize that probably fucking 80% maybe of the things that come flying out of your mouth is an emotional reaction, and that's how we respond to things, and that there's something that's deeper that rooted in that response. Like we say things and we think that those are our beliefs, but nobody spends a lot of time, or not a lot of, I shouldn't say nobody, very few people spend a lot of time unpacking that. Like, why do I believe that? You know, I know I feel this way and I feel strongly about it, but very few people challenge themselves and ask themselves, well, why do I feel that strongly about that? And where does that come from? And the more you go and unpack that, the more you learn and you find out about yourself. And so I think that's an extremely powerful tool. And these professionals understand this at such a high level that you could be they'll ask you a question and you just start blurting out how you feel because you're responding by emotions. And then they pause you in those moments, go, wait, tell me, Justin, like, why do you feel that way? Why did you say that makes you upset? Like, explain to me why that makes you upset. And then you explain, well, it just gets me so mad when she does this and says this to me and this and that. Well, but why though? What is it about what she's saying to you that triggers that for you? And where does that come from? And then they start and the next thing you know, it's like, holy shit, you start diving in. It's like
they're helping you think. They're helping you process and think.
Yes. And when you start to realize that, I think that tool, like I wouldn't go to therapy right now. Because Katrina asked me after that episode that Sal talked about going that. She goes, do you think you would go to therapy right now? And I said, I don't think so.
She's subtly telling you to go to.
Yeah, right. I should. That's so you need it right now. I said, I don't think
that's a good idea.
I don't think so. I think that. I mean, if she said something to me, like absolutely, I respect her like that, but I don't think she would either. I think that I've become a self-aware enough person that if there's something going on in my life, I've now, because of all the therapy I've been in my entire life, I have the tools that they possess to do that to myself. I also have the self-awareness to recognize, am I being an asshole? Is this not working out for me? Why are all these bad things happening in my life? Like, I'm the common denominator. Let's get to the bottom of this. And I have the ability to dive into that. Now, some people haven't practiced this and they don't have that exercise down.
You have to be careful with saying that because a lot of people listening are going to think that. A lot of people themselves, that's usually what stops people, right? I'm not talking about you in particular, but that's what stops a lot of people from seeking out talking with a professional therapist is they think, oh, look, I know I got this. I know what my problem is.
Well, that would be naive to think that way because the only reason why I think I can even slightly say that is because I've put the hours and hours and hours and hours in of practice.
Well, I
of doing that. That's as naive as saying that you can play a sport because you watched it on television a little bit.
Well, I think I think a more accurate thing to say is you're aware enough to know when you need therapy. That's here's the way I look at it. I had this conversation actually last night is, we hire business, CEOs tend to hire business coaches. In fact, if you look up the statistics, a majority of successful CEOs, people who run billion-dollar companies, have a business coach. You think, why did that person need a business coach? They started one of the most successful.
Do you watch Billions?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Oh, remember the psychologist in that?
I do, of course.
Oh my God, it's such a powerful character. You gotta watch it.
But that's that's part of my point is these people who started these businesses who are billionaires who you think, why do they need a business coach? They have business coaches. Some of the greatest athletes in the world have athletic coaches. Some of the greatest trainers in the world have training coaches and all that stuff. And a therapist, the way I look at it, it's almost like, it's like a life coach, but not really. I hate that term life coach, but it's like somebody who's helping you work and process things for your own life. And the way I'm viewing it now is like, I don't think I want to see someone every single week, but why not see someone once a month or every other month, sit down.
It's interesting to think about, especially when you become more visible, more successful, and you come up with, you're presented with a lot more variables, a lot more challenges in your life that you've never even known before. And and you're just swimming in it. And a lot of times, people don't want to seek help in that because everything's going so well. When in fact you're subtly drowning in it.
That's the problem. The problem I see, and I could definitely see even myself getting trapped in this, is waiting until shit gets bad,
right? And
then being like, oh, I need a therapist. When it's almost like it probably would benefit you more to see someone before the shit went bad. And so the way I'm looking at it now with therapy is I'm viewing it as not more than a preventative, but just something that keeps things
in perspective moving and allowing me to think and process before shit gets difficult. And now the reason why I sought one out was, I came out of a very challenging
5-year period. And I just thought to myself, like, this is probably a good idea.
It was traumatic. As much as you want to, dismiss it, it's a traumatic experience you had to go through.
Exactly. And so I think, I think the value is tremendous. I also do think, however, that it's extremely valuable when you have a good therapist. I can't imagine having a therapist that's not. I know people who've had bad experiences.
Yeah, it's no different than like the way we encourage personal training or not. It's the same thing. I mean, would it hurt for me to have a badass coach who personal trains and breaks down my biomechanics and critiques things like that? And even though I'm a professional in that field, 100%.
Dude, every now and then I love it because Mike Salemi will like break me down like nobody else I've known. Like I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it's just great.
It's a personal trainer
Great
for your
knowledge.
brain.
Yeah.
It's a personal trainer for your brain and help you process your thoughts, like the thoughts and the way you act and your emotions. Like, just how often do you exercise that? And that's what I mean.
Exactly. It's like taking an hour out to do
That's
that.
what I mean. Like, this is also why I love Katrina, is that, I finally have found a partner that is the same way with this stuff. Is we exercise this a lot. Like, this is a very common thing. And I mean, our lives aren't perfect. We disagree. We have things that frustrate us. We act a certain way, but we 100%. If someone's off kilter at all, the other one will call the other one out right away, and then we'll handle it. We'll talk about it. Like, we'll discuss it, and we'll get to the root cause of it. Like, hey, you seem off today. Are you okay? What happened at work today? What's going on? Okay, let's figure this out. I don't know. Why am I like that?
I've had clients who I've had a lot of clients who've needed to lose a lot of weight. Like, I'm talking about the severely obese, and the ones that I trained that also simultaneously worked with a therapist, far more successful.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
far more
That
successful.
should almost be mandatory for that population.
No, I mean, I shared the story with you just recently with my family. It's just, if you're putting that much weight on, there is a much deeper thing going on than just calories and exercise. There's something else that you're disguising that, and you're using food as a drug. You may not do cocaine, you may not do heroin, you may not drink alcohol, you may not smoke weed, but you absolutely can abuse food, and you're abusing it because you don't want to feel something else, And so, I think if you're carrying that much weight, I 100% think that, a good trainer, I think part of my success is probably because of this, right? I had all this therapy growing up as a kid. I learned this art of communication. I understood that piece. I wasn't the best trainer. I wasn't the best, like, as far as my science and understanding nutrition, like that came later on. But I was a great communicator, and I was able to see those things. I knew that about my clients. I knew that if they were really obese, that there was something more about them. I'm here to teach them how to exercise and teach them what foods are good or not. But what I was really good at was helping them in other parts of their life. Like, it just came natural to me. So absolutely, I think that's important.
Yeah, I see a tremendous amount of benefit in it. Also, I'd like to remind everybody, 3 days left for the launch promotion of MAPS Strong. You got to go to mapsstrong.com, MAPSSTRONG.com. Use the code STRONG30. That's STRONG, the number 30, no space. Get $30 off the launch of MAPS Strong. Again, remember, 3 days left. After that, price goes up.
Don't be weak. Get strong.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.